Hey there, Alex Chikalo here with the solution engineering team of Make. And in this video, we're going to talk about text parsing that happens in very common cases where you use Make to process your data. And for this to start, I just want to start with the text strings and a doc that Make has for it. So you can easily find this in the Make doc section and functions, string function. So basically, many of these functions will be super helpful if you're going to parse your text. And this is actually one of the methods to do it. And we will start with some practical task for it. So let's imagine you have some data that comes from somewhere. And super common first case of our John Doe guy with the first and last name. So for parsing this, you definitely might not need super advanced techniques and different tools, regex, no regex, and so on. Just need to know the standard make functions. And one of the super common patterns to parse the text will be using a split function. So you can either type or select this function from text functions in here. Let me make this smaller. And that's how it will work. So because we already got a variable, right, for our name, right, we can, again, as I said, either type or select function here, the function called split. So what does this function? It again says here, if you have a mouse on it, and when you open the function selected, it will split your text to different chunks, right? Depending on the separator, you will put as a second argument, and will return array to work with it. So in this case, there's probably only one logical separator we have here. It's a space, right, between our two words. And if I will just run this, it will return us array, which is two pieces of items right inside of one array. Until this point, you might not even need to know what is array. You just can visually see, right? So it's two pieces, and we literally can call them by their index, right? So first piece and the second piece. In Make, we use, when we work with array, we start with the one instead of zero as regular programming languages, and that's, again, for user simplicity. So again, to get this piece of splitted text, we use a get function. So you can either go and select it in general functions or just type get and open parentheses to see the stuff. So I can close my window, or we can just continue to type, right? So basically, and again, it's super easy. You get all explanation for it. Get works for objects and arrays. In our case, again, it's a super simple case. We're just going to select, as we've spoken, one item of two, right? So say I need the first name, that will be like just the one. So with the text that we split using the space, we will literally select the first item. So this is how you read this expression. So literally, I will get a first item from a splitted text by text splitted by space, and that will return us our first name, right? So if we need to get the second, it's pretty obvious that we just use two and so on. So by extending our pattern a bit more, we can get even more stuff. So say add the phone number and say add some email here. And in this case, it becomes a bit from one side more complex thing, but because we know the patterns that we use with the text string, it's not like a big deal for us, right? So in this case, what I'm going to do, literally, because I know that each piece of my data comes on a new line. So guess what I'm going to do if I need, say, an email. So basically, I want to split this using a new line. I just use new line, literally to split my text, and then I'm going to get some piece of data. So potentially you can even always go and like test or check yourself or make it easier, right? So just see, okay, did I got everything correctly? Index of my pieces here, right? I split this with a new line. So I got 3 pieces of data here, literally 3 items in my array. So I need the third one, right? So super simple, it becomes relatively easy to understand. We just need a piece number 3, right? So with this one, I can get my email from this text. So there are probably more things to do with this one, and what we can do also here will be say this. I need, for example, if I have, let's add stuff to it, so name and then phone, for example, and then email. Okay, so that turns our thing to a bit more complex stuff, because again, what I have here will be the whole line that I got after my split, because I have now email and a space. So what if I need to have this? You can easily guess what I can do. I again can add get and split. There are like several techniques on overcome this, and one of them again could be I can now split this one using a space, for example, and just get a second thing from this split, because this will be the first and this will be a second. What I also can do, and I just will illustrate as some use case, because if, say, I assume my text line will have, or form data have always the same structure. So we may say, okay, why don't cut just this somehow? And there are also a couple of techniques to do it, and I'll show you both. But first, what you can do a replace. So I literally copy this text, and then I can go here for my expression. So let's just quickly name them. Say our split, let's just call it split, or split array, for example, and this, let's call it result. So this is a result of our split. So basically I can just run it once again to get correct names, nice and shiny. So this is result, this is what I got. And what I'm going to do, right, is just replace, as we've spoken, this email. So this is one of the simplest ones. So we kind of just cut it or remove this piece. So literally saying my function in this case, again, it's a text function of replace. You can either type this and open parentheses or just select it in here. So replace, then you need to remove this stuff argument, because replace works in a way where you have a text and then you literally show what you want to replace and then what will be a replacer, right? So we'll replace with. Okay, so I want to take my text, which is email, a column space something, and my email, right? Email will change all the time, so I would just want to replace this with literally nothing. So I will put a third argument, literally a replacement, and you can use empty string. So that will do the thing for us. And we'll just replace this email. What I also can do, let's just clone it and do another option, is use substring. This is like a thing that you can do in some Google Sheet or other formulas that you might be familiar with. So we literally going to cut our text from something to something. Substring actually works with the zeros, so to easily find how it works, you literally can do next. That's how works substring. So you put your cursor and say like 0, and then you can hit the arrows on your keyboard and start to count. So this will be 0, right? So this will be 1, this will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on and so forth. So literally, if I want to cut something from my line, so I need to put 2 numbers. I don't need to start from 0 because I need to skip it. I will start from this place, right? So we literally start to count. It will be 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need to start from character number 7, and I need to cut it by the end of this line. I can do it with a substring using next thing. So potentially, Again, it comes a bit more complex, but sometimes you might want to do it. My point here is just show you different option of parsing. So substring literally will take this text, right? So which is first argument. So if you hover, you see everything between the substring and first semicolon is the first argument. Then I will literally want to return everything between the 7 character up to the end. So to show the end, I can use a length, right? So I need to measure a length of my whole string. So for this, I can again just select the length here and just paste what I copied, literally a whole expression of my get. So that should work. And we are literally going to take the text, which is email, column, space, blah, 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 and we will substring everything between a 7th place to the end. The end literally is the length of whole text thing. And if we run it, we will not miss anything. So as you see here, we literally got a cut from 7th place to the end of the whole text, which in our case was this. So these are 2 or 3 most common patterns that you can get and mix all together. Probably one more could be is the index of, which I haven't mentioned. It's when you need to find a place where to start cut. So say I want to just get a domain, for example, right? And it's pretty obvious that my domain will start after the at. So if I need just cut a domain, say put in organization website address, it works this way. So what I can do, because here I have my email, I can even go and do it like this because we're replacing the email. Here it's extra stuff which we don't need. Let's just clone this and let's call it a domain. So here, what I'm going to do is to first get the whole line. Then my idea is to find this symbol, which is @, and just get the result of this. So I just need to cut this piece and return it back. So what I can do with this one, I use index of. So index of will return us a place where the thing is, right? So if you see here, so for example, with the T, it will return you the first thing. So with our math of 0, 1, 2, it counts like a 0, 1, 2. See? So it's literally exact place where we starting to cut. So technically, if I will do index of for my @, that would return me a place and text will be @ plus something. So what I need to do, I need to find my place for index of @ and @ plus 1 because I don't need @ itself in my cut. And all this together, we're going to use with a substring. So if I do index of for my text, which I also want to copy. So if I do index for my text, that would be working like this, right? So that will return me a place where my @ inside it's a 12, right? Inside of my text. So if I will count, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's where we're at, right? But we need this, so we're going to add +1 to it with a math operator. So it always will be +1, right? And this will be the place where I want to start my cut. So to combine this all together with what we already discussed will be substring. So we go into substring the whole text, which I've just copied, from this place and up to a length, again, of my whole text. So looks a bit complex, But sometimes you may prefer this method also, right? So literally, once again, you hover mouse on the substring, right, to see what these separators or end of the substring. So you see, right? So we get split data, new line 3, which is third line. Then we got an index of that thing, right? So index of our at sign inside of our get split plus 1. So we're adding plus 1 to cut after at sign and do it until the length of the whole line. And that should return our domain then to us as mail com. So these are probably most common methods that you can use to get things done. You can definitely go with the more complex things, such as using the whole lines as a separator. This is also possible. So ideally, if you have something with your text and then you just need to cut something like that type of thing, so you can use this as a separator for a text and so on. But these techniques are not so common, but you still might need to know them. So say I want to get everything before this line, right? And I don't want to get this anymore. Like you may assume it as a signature, right? I just want to cut, say, signature from my email. So, and you can use it as, again, get. So I want to get what I want to get. I want to get the piece of a text from my split, right? So, and as a separator for a split, I'm going to use that thing. Okay, so what I'm going to get will be a first piece. Don't forget the separators. Make sure your functions always have correct arguments and so on. So I want to get the first piece of this split, right? So this will be a separator. This should be a first piece. This should be a second. So I will going to get the first one here. And as you see, we just got the whole thing, not even spaces, new lines. We just got with the new line here, but nothing after because we use exactly whole thing copy. And that's most common techniques for text functions. And again, as soon as you reach this kind of piece of knowledge, you start to move to more advanced stuff. And that would be regular expressions. For many years, regular expressions were something that is like just impossible to use. And that works only for super advanced programmers. But since recently, right, since we got language models working for us and generating for us a code, you can easily operate with projects of huge complexity, to be honest. And we are going to see soon how to make project work on our behalf.